years, my sister called me the family's failure because I lived alone in my grandmother's abandoned garden. Then a developer offered $45 million for the land. I told no one. 3 days later, my parents arrived with eviction papers, but the lawyer read a clause from the will that changed everything. "You've always been the family's failure, Ava." My sister Megan said those words to me during Thanksgiving dinner. 12 people were sitting around the table. Everyone heard it. Nobody said a word. I placed my fork down. She laughed. "What? Am I wrong? You left the city, quit your job, and now you're living in Grandma's abandoned garden. People don't call that success." I looked at her. "You think I'm a failure?" He shrugged. "I don't think it. Everyone does." She had no idea that 3 days later, a developer would offer $45 million for that same garden. And she had no idea that I hadn't told anyone a single word. My name is Ava Mitchell. I am 34 years old and I live in Portland, Oregon. Or more accurately, I lived in my grandmother's old garden outside Portland. My sister Megan. 36 years old. The family favorite. She believed success meant a big house, an expensive car, and perfect pictures on social media. My brother Jack. 38 years old. He stayed quiet, but he always stood beside Megan. My mother Karen. 61 years old. She cared deeply about what people thought of our family. My father Thomas. 66 years old. He wasn't a bad man, but he never stood against anyone. Me. I was the daughter who chose her own path. But my family never liked that path. My grandmother's garden covered nearly 10 acres of land. There used to be rows of apple trees, flower beds, a small wooden house. But when my grandmother passed away, everyone said the land was useless. "Sell it," my mother had said. "Don't waste your time on it." But I didn't sell it. I moved there. I cleared the old trees. I repaired the broken paths. I built a small vegetable garden. People laughed. Especially Megan. One day she called me and said, "Ava, you're really happy digging your hands into dirt?" I answered, "Yes." She laughed. "That's weird." I said, "Not everything you don't understand is weird." She didn't respond. But I knew what she thought. She believed I had fallen behind in life. That Thanksgiving was no different. Megan tried to embarrass me in front of everyone. My father looked down at his plate. My mother tried to change the subject. But nobody defended me. I stayed quiet. Because I knew sometimes time gives the best answers. 3 days later at 7 in the morning, a black SUV stopped in front of my property. A man stepped out. "Are you Ava Mitchell?" I said, "Yes." He extended his hand. "My name is Richard Hull. I'm from Hull Development Group." I looked at him with confusion. "Why are you here?" He looked toward the garden. "We're interested in this land." I stayed silent. Then he pulled out a folder. "We'd like to make you an offer of $45 million. I thought I had heard him wrong. "How much?" $45 million. I took the folder. I looked through the documents. This wasn't a joke. The land my family considered worthless was located right in the middle of a major city development plan. I asked, "How did you know this property belonged to me?" Richard said, "Your grandmother created a legal plan years ago to protect it." I stopped. "What?" He said, "She had a specific purpose for this land." I didn't accept the offer. I didn't reject it. I simply said, "I need time to think." He left. And I told nobody. Not my mother. Not Megan. Not Jack. I knew if they found out, everything would change. For the next 3 days I continued working in the garden. Then on the third afternoon a car stopped in front of my house. My mother. My father. Megan. And a lawyer. The moment I saw them I knew something was coming. My mother stepped out. She was holding some papers. "Ava, we need to talk." I said, "About what?" Megan stepped forward. "This property could be used better for the family." I laughed. "What does that mean?" The lawyer handed me the papers. "This is an eviction notice." I looked at the documents. Then I looked at my mother. "You came here to remove me?" Megan said, "This land is being wasted anyway." I asked. Suddenly, she went quiet. Then my mother said, "What are you even doing here alone?" I answered, "My life." Megan laughed. "Life? You're talking to trees." I looked at her. "And you're living your life trying to make everyone else happy." There's a difference. My mother's face hardened. Enough. I handed the papers back. Okay. Everyone looked surprised. Megan asked, "That's it?" I said, "Yes." I didn't start packing. I didn't fight. They thought they had won. But they didn't know I had one thing. The truth. That night, I contacted my grandmother's old attorney, Mr. Collins. He asked me to come to his office the next day. He pulled out an old file. "Ava, your grandmother planned for this." I asked, "For what?" He said, "This land was never just about you living here." He opened the will. It stated that my grandmother's property could not be transferred by force. And most importantly, if any family member tried to remove Ava from her home, the trust would become active. I stared at him. "A trust?" He nodded. "And you are the only person who controls that trust." That was when I understood. My grandmother knew. She knew one day these people would try to do this to me. 2 days later I called everyone together. The same house. The same garden. My mother looked at me and said, "We didn't come here to argue." I said, "No. Today you came here to listen." Megan rolled her eyes. "Oh, now you're going to lecture us?" I placed the file on the table. "No. I'm just going to show you the truth." The lawyer opened the documents. The room went silent. My mother looked at the pages. Her hands stopped moving. "What is this?" I said, "My grandmother's will." Megan grabbed the file. The color left her face. "This isn't possible." I said, "It is." Then the second secret came out. The lawyer explained that Richard Hall's company was not simply trying to buy the land. They wanted to partner with my grandmother's trust. Because the garden contained rare historical plant species that my grandmother had spent years protecting. The $45 million wasn't just the value of the land. It was the value of the legacy everyone had laughed at. My mother became silent. Megan quietly said, "Why didn't you tell us?" I looked at her. "Because when I had nothing, all of you left me behind." Jack spoke for the first time. "Ava, we were wrong." I answered, "Yes, you were." A few months later, the development agreement was completed. The garden remained protected. A large part of the land became a community green space. And for the first time, I built a life that belonged completely to me. Megan still sends me messages sometimes. But her words have changed. Before she used to say, "You're a failure." Now she asks, "Can we talk?" I don't answer. My father called me one day. He said, "I'm sorry we never really saw you." I said, "You saw me. You just didn't think I mattered." Today I still live in that garden. The same trees are there. The same paths remain. But nobody calls me a failure anymore. Because where everyone else saw only old land, I saw my future. And the girl my family underestimated became the person who owned the most valuable thing of all. Quietly. Waiting for her moment. If you enjoyed this story and found Ava's journey inspiring, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe for more emotional and powerful stories. Thank you for watching and spending your valuable time with us. Your support means a lot and helps us continue bringing more unforgettable stories filled with truth, courage, and unexpected twists.